On the morning of day 7, we walked inside the largest apple in the southern hemisphere. We found the Big Apple Cafe in the Native Parks guidebook. They're a Native Parks host, so we could stay in their car park overnight for free. We met one of the owners in the morning and he greeted us in a few different languages. I asked him how he knew so many languages.
Since I've been here 15 years, we get quite a range of clients, like from Japan, Korea, Chinese, Thai, European, so I just pick up a few words, and I've always been interested in languages, so just pick it up and write it down, and then just keep practicing and build up a vocabulary. As well, with our staff, we employ a lot of seasonal staff, like people on working holiday visas, so it's a good experience for them because they get to learn English and have a job, and it's good for us too because we deal with a lot of different tourists, and we get busloads from all over the world, so it's good for our business and it's good for them. So we have staff from Japan, Korea, Philippines, Fiji, Germany, Czechoslovakia, so they just come in and ask for a job, and if there's a vacancy, we're more than happy to look after them.
Arnold's parents are from the Netherlands and he speaks a bit of Dutch. He also studied Māori for a few years. I asked him about the local Māori dialect.
This area is Maniapoto Tainui, so like to say hello, how are you? Normally around New Zealand you say kia ora is quite a common word, just means hello and thank you in Māori. And around New Zealand you say kei te pihi koe, which is how are you? But in this area we would say epe whiana koe, so it's a slightly different dialect.
We headed towards the coast on State Highway 3. It started raining for the first time on our trip. We drove down a little road to try and find some rocks called the Three Sisters, but we couldn't seem to see any rocks that looked like sisters, so we gave up. We did see a cute little pohutakawa tree though, and lots of jandals on a fence. Later on I looked up the Three Sisters and I found out that you actually have to wait until low tide to be able to walk around the coast to see them. And you can actually only see 2 sisters now. The third one seems to have gone for a swim. We saw 2 little cows headbutting each other. We weren't sure if they were playing or fighting.
Coming up is the White Cliffs Organic Brewery and Brew House.
Tourism radio helpfully let us know that there was a brewery coming up, so we stopped and bought some beer. Before we arrived in New Plymouth, we drove through a small town called Waitara and saw lots of murals. In New Plymouth, we had a sandwich for lunch. We went to the information centre to buy a postcard. We had a coffee next door to the information centre, and then we went and checked out the coastal walkway. The coastal walkway is a 10-kilometre path along the sea. It's so cool. A friend of my uncle's opened a surf shop in New Plymouth recently, so we went to visit him and check out the shop. I met BC when I was a little kid, but I hadn't seen him since then. He's originally from California in the United States.
San Clemente's where I grew up at and spent most of my life, and then I traveled here in 1976. So I spent 3 months traveling around New Zealand as a teenager, and then quite liked it and came back in the 80s, and then I came back in the 90s, and then I talked my wife into moving here in 99, so I've been here ever since.
BC's been surfing since the summer of '68 and making boards since '76. I asked him what he loves about surfing.
I think it's the challenge. It's never the same. So every time you go out, it's always slightly a different version of what you've been doing. You know, obviously the sort of communing with nature, you know, that aspect of it is a strong attraction, because it's not a team sport. You're sort of on your own. You know, you have a lot of friends that are with you, and you're out in the water having a good time. But it is that physical attraction of challenging. You can't equate the force of the ocean. It's you know, it's different every time. It can, you know, punish you. It can, you know, make things easy. It just depends on the day. So that challenge aspect's really interesting. There's something about it that is addicting, because you only surf on a wave for 5 to 7 seconds, you know, on an average wave. So there's got to be something. You spend most of the time just paddling around.
The headquarters of Kiwi holiday parks is also in New Plymouth, so we called in to see them too. I asked where most of the tourists who stay in the parks are from.
Probably our biggest market would be Australia, but a lot of from the UK, Netherlands. Germany used to be a big market, but that was prior to the wall coming down. Once that came down, the German market slowed up, but it's picking up again now. But it's certainly not back to the heyday that it was 20 odd years ago. But yeah, no, Australia would be our biggest market, being our closest neighbour, and then would come Europe and the UK.
I also asked David if he thought we should book ahead when we stay at Kiwi holiday parks.
Certain times of the year, just over that Christmas, New Year period possibly. But the benefit of a motorhome is it's freewheeling, and you can change your mind as you go. And it's not really necessary to pre-book your complete itinerary if you're travelling by motorhome.
We drove around Mount Taranaki to our destination for day 7, a holiday park in Opunake. In Opunake, I sent a postcard to the United States, and then we drove down the road to Opunake Beach Holiday Park. It was a really nice place. There was a really friendly vibe, and it was right by the beach. We stayed on site number 40. We tried out the microwave in our motorhome to cook this instant rice. I'd never tried instant rice before. It was actually pretty tasty. We drank Mike's beer while watching the sunset. It was divine.